The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Loudon Swain.
Brett Metcalf, Tony Ramos,
Ryan Shute,
Mike Golick,
Bubba J,
Johnny Hendricks, Matthew Modine,
the one and only Chael Sonnen, and you are listening to the one and only Short Time Wrestling Podcast by the often imitated and never duplicated Jason Bryant.
I'm three-time national wrestling writer and broadcaster of the year, Jason Bryant, and I'll bring you news, reviews, previews, and interviews with the most notable names and personalities in wrestling. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app by logging on to matttalkonline.com/listen and leave a review for the show at matttalkonline.com/getshorttime. Short Time is sponsored by Flips Wrestling. Share your attitude and be heard at flipswrestling.com. Now it's time, because you've always got time, for Short Time. It's time for episode 181 of the Short Time Wrestling Podcast. Jason Bryan here again with you. As always, today we're going to be talking with multiple-time World and Olympic team member. When we mean multiple time, we mean 8 straight World and Olympic teams. Spenser Mango has been on. He's been on every U.S. World team in Greco-Roman since making the Olympic team in 2008. So that's the Olympics in 2008 and 2012, and every world team in between. We'll talk to him about his upbringing, how he got involved in wrestling, what it's like being a husband and father. Speaking of which, I had a chance to spend a lot of time with my family this past weekend, 4th of July weekend. Went up to the area just outside of Lake Mille Lacs. That's M-I-L-L-E space L-A-C-S. So if you ever look at that and be like, what is Millie Lax? No, it's Mille Lacs. And don't try fishing on there right now. The Minnesota DNR has all sorts of regulations on walleye. You can keep one. It's like that opening scene. Well, not that opening scene, but it's like that scene in the Steve Martin movie, The Jerk, where he's doing the weight guessing thing, and you can only win a prize between here and here, but not above here and here. That's what it's like trying to catch a walleye on Lake Mille Lacs. I guess it really doesn't matter for me, considering I'm 35 years old. I'll turn 36 in August, and I have never in my life caught a walleye. I've been fishing the Minnesota rivers and lakes since 2001, and never have I even hooked in one. I've caught little pitty fish, little perch and sunnies, and I've caught a northern or 3. I mean, those are fun to catch, but I guess why should I complain about not catching a walleye in Lake Mille Lacs when I haven't caught one on Big Pine Lake? Anyway, that's where my in-laws live now. They retired and bought a house up on the lake, so like many people here in Minnesota, I've got a little place on the lake. It's not really mine, but, we had a chance to jump in the lake, do some swimming. I got behind a jet ski, did some tubing, had some fun with the family there. So I hope everybody had a safe and happy 4th of July weekend, wherever you may be. And I always thought this was funny. This is not an original thought, but, you think about all the fireworks and whatnot. You're like, don't let the kids handle the fireworks. Well, yeah, let's just hand them to adults who've been drinking all day and set things on fire that could blow your hand off. Just a thought. Anyway, other things that went on, other than swimming in the lake with my family, women's U.S. national soccer team won the World Cup for the 3rd time. Okay, cool, great. I watched it. Congratulations. I think it's cool whenever the U.S. wins something. And actually, Steve Lamangino, the SID at Lehigh, who a lot of us know in dealing with sports information with the brown and white for the Mountain Hawks, the Hawkeneers, the Engineers, whatever you want to call them. He put out a tweet that I retweeted and quoted, and it got a pretty good amount of response. It's like, Americans may not like soccer, or all Americans may not like soccer, but there's something all Americans do like, and that's winning. So congratulations to the U.S. Women's World Cup team there. And here's the one thing that I stayed away from the social media politics angle of it immediately, because that would just be in bad taste. But now here on the show, I've had a couple days to marinate. I've seen a lot of this talk, and when I get on these Title IX kicks, and this is something where I want to attribute the performance of teams like this to hard work, dedication, coaching, everything that goes that's synonymous with athletes and winning. I don't necessarily want to give credit to a law, okay? 40 years ago, the opportunities did not exist. Now, almost everybody on that team had the opportunity to play sports growing up. So it was kind of inherent at that point. Done. So I'm wondering, did Japan get to credit Title IX when they won the World Cup 4 years ago? What about Norway back in '95? What about the Germans, the 2 World Cups before the Japanese one? I mean, did they get to credit in American law? No. So here's my thinking. If these other countries are seeing great push in women's athletics and supporting gender equity, they don't necessarily credit a law for their success. I say credit your success to your own dedication, determination, and hard work. Those women on that U.S. national team won because of hard work, teamwork, great coaching, and, it's a system. They've got it involved, and it worked really well. And you know what? It was cool to see Americans rooting for women's sports, because there's some people that say, who watches women's sports? I watch women's sports. Yeah, I'm not a fan of, the politicking or politicizing of things, kind of like I'm doing now. I'm not a fan of what I'm doing now, but I'm just going to bring that up, okay? Is that law going to get credit for every single success every women's athlete has? No, it shouldn't. It should be the hard work and dedication these athletes put in. Okay, you've got the opportunities now, run with it. All right, enough about soccer, because actually, one last thing about soccer. When I was announcing high school soccer when I was in high school, obviously I wouldn't announce high school soccer after high school, but when I was a PA announcer back at Pocosin High School, I actually did get a yellow card announcing a regional soccer championship game between my alma mater and York High School. That was an interesting scenario. Now to wrestling. We are 11 days from the first whistle in Fargo, hashtag Fargo 2015, or hashtag Fargo 15. I got to figure out what I tweeted. I think it's Fargo 2015. Anyway, this will be my 17th straight year covering the cadet and junior nationals, and it went from 4 tournaments to now the monstrosity that it is now. Still 23 mats, and I got my turf mugs polished off, ready to go. On the wrestling news side of things, you can get news items like this by subscribing for free to the daily wrestling news that I provide via Matt Talk Online. You can go to matttalkonline.com/news. You can sign up for free. Every morning, you're going to get a list of links about wrestling news from around the world. I mean, recently there's been a lot of stuff about the Indian Wrestling Federation, about Sushil Kumar and Yogeshwar Dutt, and Yadav and guys like that. So India, their national media actually covers wrestling pretty well, so you're getting some information there. Of course, you'll get stuff from USA Wrestling, all the major websites, so kind of curated. So it's not just like any press release I find it gets in there. It's got to be some substance. So if there's something interesting, and if it is a press release and it's got some substance, it's in there. But you can get daily wrestling news delivered right to your email about 7 o'clock each morning Central Time by going to matttalkonline.com/news. One of those interesting stories came from Davidson College, and I tweeted a lot about this during the NCAA championships, but their 184-pounder, Scott Patrick. He became the first wrestler since I believe it was the 60s to win a match at the NCAA championships. He was the first wrestler in Davidson history to win more than one match at the NCAA championships, and they had a kind of a social media campaign to judge the best moments in Davidson sports for the year, and Scott Patrick, and I actually had a chance to talk to him after Nationals this year. Scott Patrick was Davidson's sports story of the year. First wrestler in school history to win multiple matches at the NCAA championship. So you can get all sorts of stuff like that at matttalkonline.com/news. Other things you can do is I've been talking about these iTunes 5-star reviews, and thank you. I really appreciate it, and that's a way that this show gets vaulted up the rankings, so you can see more wrestling content when you listen to iTunes and various podcasts. But you can go to matttalkonline.com/getshorttime and leave me a rating or review. I prefer the review so I could say your name on the podcast here. So if you've done that since I started this show, and yes, I've probably mentioned you, but you know what? Send me an email at jason@bryantwrestling.com, or if I follow you on Twitter, send me a DM. If I don't follow you, follow me. Let me know that you're the person that left me a review. I'd like to mention everybody that leaves me a review on here, and shoot me an email because I got something I want to send you. So thank you for the reviews. If you haven't done so already, go to matttalkonline.com/getshorttime and leave your review. Also, some things you can get. You can get an app for this show. This is a free app in the iTunes Store and the Google Play Store. You can go to matttalkonline.com/iOS app or /Android app to get them on your respective iOS or Android devices. I also have apps for my shows that involve Virginia Tech, Old Dominion, and Maryland. Also had a good response to Richard Immel's new podcast on the Matt Talk Podcast Network for USA Wrestling. That's called Bonus Points. He had Jordan Burroughs on episode 1. Got another good episode coming soon. So if you can subscribe to that one as well, go to matttalkonline.com/bonus points. That'll take you right to the iTunes page where you can subscribe. Personally, I prefer the Overcast player. I think that's like at overcast.fm. I'm not quite sure what it is. Overcast is cool. But if you subscribe using the iTunes app or the podcast app on your iPhone, that is awesome. So those are our housekeeping measures today. Actually, one more housekeeping measure, the crowdfunding campaign for the Hall of Fame Legends series, where I'm trying to donate these podcast to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame for their digital outreach program as far as they start their renovation in September. So I will be giving all these old school interviews with distinguished members in order of merit and outstanding Americans to the Hall of Fame. They're going to be released in a podcast format here on the network, but I'll be donating them to the Hall of Fame. You can help me get that project funded by going to halloffamelegends.org or to matttalkonline.com/contribute. So, and with the contribute page, that's through Patreon, or you can make a one-time donation through PayPal. There are some perks that you get out of that. So it's not like, hey, thank you. But thank you. But there's some things I'm going to send you guys. And one of those includes the monstrous preview that I do for the NCAA championship. So you hit the certain level of giving, you're going to get that as an add-on bonus. I'm also looking at adding some draft glasses and posters to it. So keep an eye out on that. Again, the news, it's matttalkonline.com/news. Sign up for free there. Leave a rating and review on iTunes at matttalkonline.com/getshorttime and halloffamelegends.org for the Hall of Fame Legends Series. Now we'll talk with 8-time representative for the United States at the World Olympics, Spenser Mango, here on the Short Time Wrestling Podcast. Now we've talked women's freestyle, we've talked men's freestyle. Now it's time to talk Greco-Roman with Spenser Mango, going to be making his 8th straight appearance on a U.S. World or Olympic team as the World Championships come up here in Las Vegas in September. And Spenser, 8 years in a row, man, 8 years in a row. Obviously, this is the goal. Part of the goals of elite level wrestlers is to represent the United States. You're still looking for your first medal, but, to borrow a cliche, usually they say the third time's a charm. Is the 8th time a charm? And the fact that the Worlds are in the United States, is that going to be the winning combination to get you that world level medal?
That's the goal. Every time you want to go out there and not only just represent the United States, but to bring home a medal, for your country. And, we've been working hard at this camp, and, that's the end focus is qualifying the weight for Rio and bringing home a medal.
You talked about the camp a little bit up at Northern Michigan, and this is a place that, if you look at the makeup of the team, you, Justin, Harry, Lester, Andy Bissick spent time up at Northern Michigan, and when you look back on it, you're now with the Army. Northern Michigan's still kind of a training ground for Greco-Roman wrestlers. Where do you think you would be as an athlete if it weren't for the opportunity that you had up at Northern Michigan?
Wow, that's hard to say. That's a complete life changer. I wasn't really a Greco-Roman wrestler when I came up here, but Ivan Ivanov surely showed me a ton of things about Greco-Roman and kind of made me who I am today as a wrestler. So without this program, probably would have went to Truman State University, wrestled Division II there, and who knows from there, I might not even be still wrestling right now.
Yeah, and it was also, another Missouri guy. It's been on a world team. It's been on the circuit for a while, Jake Fisher. So, you guys both kind of came up around the same time. And when they approached you about Greco-Roman, and I'm glad you touched on Truman State because, again, you were a two-time state champ in high school, but the Division I offers, you were a little guy. And when we say little, I mean, you hadn't really grown in. You kind of joke that you don't cut weight anymore with the new weight class, but even still for the time, you weren't really being recruited a whole lot, if at all, at the Division I level at 125, and that Northern Michigan opportunity really opened doors. But, when you look at what was enticing about Greco-Roman wrestling, where was the sales pitch? What made you tell Ivan, yes, I will do this?
Well, actually, I told Ivan no, a ton of times. I was happy with the decision I made with Truman State, and, I was going to stick with it. And, I was at Fargo, and I had wrestled Greco a few times, and he just stayed on me. He was telling me how I'd get a full scholarship, how I'd travel the world, and, I'd get to wrestle in the Olympics eventually and all this stuff. And, to me, it just sounded like a sales pitch. I didn't really believe him. And then he actually caught me in the stands with my mom, and I finally sat down and really listened to what he had to say. And it was just an opportunity that you couldn't pass up as a wrestler. You get to get a degree, train full time for the Olympics, and like you said, you get to travel the world, and all that stuff was true. And I'm super happy about the decision I made, and it just changed my life.
It was interesting. You mentioned the Olympics and you wrestled Greco. I remember watching you wrestle in Fargo, and of course, I remember watching your brother Ryan come after you. And the joke was when Ryan was coming through, we called him Pocket Mango. And now he now you're the Pocket Mango. Go figure. But
right.
The talk about 2008 was when you and Henry Cejudo were both on the Olympic team, and the fact that you guys did wrestle one another on the raised stage in Fargo. And I remember watching that match, and Henry thought he had the tech. He hits, and we bring this up every time we talk about this. He did that little like X with his forearms, and you go out there and dropped him on his head. You're like, this match ain't over yet.
Yeah, I remember before the match, I had wrestled Greco the year before at Fargo, and I had took third, and I decided to wrestle Greco again my senior year. And I remember seeing him in the tournament, and he had a really nice reverse lift. And I'm asking the guys, I'm like, hey, how do you defend a reverse lift? And they're like, just look into it. Yeah, that didn't work. I was flying all over the mat in that finals match. But after I went to Northern Michigan, I learned a lot about wrestling Greco, and definitely got a lot better from the time I was in high school.
Well, you know what? If they would have been good teammates, they would have told you just grab his leg, because you're not supposed to do that in Greco, but it saves you the embarrassment, right?
Right.
Now,
I had to deal with being on T-shirts for years after that.
Now, as we look at your career again, 8 straight teams. Last year, you were into the semifinals, into the bronze medal match, took 5th place, and I remember watching the match. You're wrestling the guy Stig-Andre Berge from Norway, and it was like you guys were probably mirror images of one another in terms of your career on the senior level. Close, and it's like now both of you battling, and it's like, and it was basically an impasse. It was the match was decided by who wants to get the point first, and then that basically you're at a disadvantage there because the second point's going to be coming with the cautions the way it is. But what's it like now to know that you've been there so close to medaling the last 2 years, and it's like, all right, what's going to be the difference for Spenser Mango this year?
Right. Looking back on those matches, they just kind of eat away at you, knowing that you were so close 2 years in a row now. But it's fuel for training. I know now that I have to find different ways of scoring when guys are a little bigger than me, or a little stronger in the weight class. Being a little underweight for this weight, I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage. But I got to find different ways to open guys up, and that's kind of just been the focus of my training is finding ways to score and keeping constant pressure and using the fact that I don't cut any weight to my advantage.
They say you don't cut any weight. Obviously, the difference there is 4 kilos going from the old weights of 55 up now to 59. And I remember we were talking. You're like, man, why didn't they give us the freestyle weight? 57, you think would probably been nice and perfect. You wouldn't have been small at the weight. You used to be big at the weight. Now you're small at the weight.
Right. Yeah. When it was 55, I was a lot bigger than I am now. And then getting older now, I'm losing some weight, and then the weight class goes up. So I kind of hurt me a little bit. But I adjusted to the new weight, I feel like, and I'm still trying to get bigger, but I don't know if it's going to happen at this point in my life. So I just got to find different ways to win out there.
Now, your first World Championships that we were both at the same time was back in Baku, back in 2007. You were there as a training partner. The team won the world title. Lindsay Durlacher was 5th at the weight, and it was, it was one of those things that it was like all the Northern guys were basically there as training partners, and that's where a lot of these relationships were built over the years. But in 2007, you're there as the training partner, and then 2008, you're on the Olympic team. You look back at Baku and be like, just being on that trip, was that a turning point in your career?
Yes, I remember sitting there at the team dinner in Baku, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit jealous, at what these guys had accomplished. You're in the room working with them every day. You're working hard right beside them, and to see these guys accomplish such an amazing feat, you wanted to be a part of that team. So that's definitely fuel for the fire, and got in the room and worked my butt off because I wanted to be in that position. Instead of sitting back and watching, I wanted to be out there on the mat with a team that could win the world championships.
As we look at Greco-Roman wrestling, obviously it's to say it's the least favored style in this country is probably fair. Probably Division I college wrestling, and then the college wrestling styles below that, then freestyle. Thankfully, the rules have changed, at least on the freestyle side, that it's more of this 3-period crap. You guys are in the same situation there. At least it's not like it used to be. But you look at the opportunity this year in Las Vegas. This is the first time, actually back in 2003 when the World Championships were in New York, it was only freestyle. It wasn't even Greco. So you've got an opportunity, you and the team, the U.S. World Team, have the opportunity to really showcase American Greco-Roman wrestling. And how much have you guys talked about that? Is that in the back of your mind that's like, there's something bigger here than just a World Championship? This is an opportunity to raise our entire spectrum of athletes into a name where they're going to mention Jordan Burroughs, they're going to mention David Taylor, they're going to mention Kyle Dake, they're going to mention your Tony Ramoses, but who are they going to mention in Greco? You guys have that opportunity with the Worlds in Vegas this year.
Right. This is for all of us, I think the first and probably last time in our careers that the World Championships will be on the U.S. soil. So it's a great time to showcase our talents and just for people to kind of open their eyes and like realize that wow, Greco is pretty cool actually. So we want to be exciting. We want to go out there, score some points, and get the fans into it, and hopefully it'll raise awareness for the Greco-Roman program, and hopefully some more of the younger wrestlers will kind of want to take a chance and participate in Greco, and it'll build Greco in our country as a whole.
Do you guys have a chip on your shoulder a little bit about being kind of not even looked at very much when it comes to the wrestling community in this country?
Yes, we kind of consider ourselves the stepchildren of USA Wrestling. It's just the U.S. as a whole. The other freestyle gets, so much hype and, have so many fans. But I think just because a lot of people don't wrestle Greco when they're younger, so they don't know anything about it. And, it's just something that we have to do a little bit here and there, and hopefully we can kind of change that mentality and, get people interested in the sport. And, the sooner we get the younger generation interested, the better off we'll be as a country for Greco-Roman wrestling.
One of your Northern Michigan teammates, Andy Bissick, won a bronze medal last year. It ended a drought that had ended. The last medal in Greco was Drumil Byers in 2009. And how much do you think the Cowboys' performance in Tashkent really kind of maybe helped lift the profile of Greco-Roman wrestling in this country?
Oh, it was a tremendous lift. I remember when I heard about it, I was in the sauna losing a couple pounds, and man, right after that, I felt like I could just go run to the arena. I was so pumped. But the whole program that just lifted us up so much, and Andy's been wrestling phenomenal lately, and he kind of led us through that, broke the drought for us, and we're just looking to build on his success that he had last year and bringing some more medals this year.
Talked about the team concept that you guys built at Northern Michigan, and now if you look at the roster of this year's World Team, half of it's representing the Army's world-class athlete program. There's you. I'm not gonna call him Justin. There's Harry Lester, Patrick Martinez is new in the program. Kaylor Williams has come on the scene and really emerged as the truth at that weight class at 98 kilos, and it's just like, wow. I mean, what is it about the Army? Obviously, it's a situation. Sean Lewis and staff, and can't mention Bruce and his flat bill hats and his long, super long T-shirts. Got to give Bruce Robinson a little bit of guff there, but what is it about the Army that's really raised not just the profile of Greco-Roman, but the athletes who end up saying, "I'm going to make this commitment. I'm going to join the Army." And where have you improved as a wrestler?
I think it just starts with the support that we get. Whatever tours we need to go on, whatever training situation we need to be in, the Army supports us 100%. And, with Coach Lewis leading the charge, he makes sure that, if we need to go overseas for a training camp, a tournament, or if we need to bring a partner into the U.S., all of that is made possible through the world-class athlete program. And, I feel like we have the best, for my situation, the best room in the country as far as 59 kilograms go. We have so many different partners I can go with every day, and the Army, we all push each other and make each other better, and that's how you elevate yourself as a wrestler. Is iron sharpens iron. So with all of our great coaching and support, this program can't go anywhere but up.
And what's interesting to look at the Army, one of your teammates, John Anderson, have one thing in common. I believe you were both 112-pounders as seniors in high school.
Yes, I was a 112 pounder as a senior in high school. My first year at Northern Michigan, I went from that to I was 145 pounds by the end of the first semester. So I finally grew a little bit, got a little bigger, but not quite as much as Anderson. He's wrestling 85 kilos now. So maybe one day that growth spurt will come for me, but till then.
Oh, what's interesting is I'm actually going up to the UP on vacation in August. So whatever you were eating, keep me away from it. I'm trying to go the other way. So I don't want to know anything about what you were eating at Northern or anywhere up in the UP. So just keep that in mind. But, as the Army goes, we'll look at it, and it seems, and when I was living in Colorado Springs and working at USA Wrestling, there's a couple times where I'd go over and, I'd go to Harry's house, we'd watch the fights or something, and this is a real team component, and it's unlike really anything you'll see in senior level wrestling. Yes, there's Titan Mercury on the freestyle side with the large rosters, the sun-kissed in your regional training centers. But when you look at the Army, you guys are training together. It's like a college team, but you guys are adults. I mean, you're hanging out with each other on the weekends. I mean, a bunch of guys are roommates, and it's a situation that this is the real team atmosphere. Up here in Minnesota, the Storm has a little bit of that, but, it's basically a extremely unique thing outside of, the few people in Minnesota and then, of course, the college kids at Northern. What is it about that team atmosphere that the Army's W-class, world-class athlete program has that really helps everybody succeed?
I think it's just because we, in the Army, we consider ourselves a family. We can call on each other if you need anything. Never hesitate to call one of our teammates, and you can always count on them to be there for you, no matter what it is. So I think that family atmosphere really helps when it comes to training, because now it's not like we're training in a room and I don't want to show this guy something because he's in my weight class and he might learn how I wrestle and he'll beat me at the tournament. No, we go in there and we help each other out, and we kind of build each other up, and Coach Lewis really drives that, the whole family atmosphere, and it's been working great so far, and I feel like if maybe the whole U.S. got on board and developed the same kind of atmosphere in the room, that we could definitely get better as a country.
Now, one thing about the Army, and I've talked to a couple people about this outside of wrestling that may be familiar with the service. The military branches having teams, but what is kind of the defense that you might have to somebody that says, well, they're in the Army, or they don't think that the Army should be having sports teams? I mean, if they're in the Army, they should be serving and whatnot. I mean, how do you explain that to somebody that says, when somebody asks you, what do you do? He's like, I wrestle for the Army, and it's not West Point, it's not the college Army, it's I'm an athlete that represents the Army. How do you explain the whole situation to somebody who's unfamiliar with it?
Well, we do a lot more than just wrestle in the Army. A lot of our guys go to the Army Combatives program to help with Army combatives. We have guys going on missions to high schools to help recruit. So it's not just like, hey, we go into practice and then, we go to tournaments and that's it. We do a lot more than that for the Army. And we also have guys, a ton of guys have came through the Army WCAP program and went on to special forces and commanding units outside of WCAP. So WCAP is just a temporary thing for a lot of us. And, while we're here, we do our best to give back to the Army community, helping out and, putting on different things for kids clubs and all that. But, after WCAP, a lot of our guys go on to do great things in the Army.
And there seemed to be a rush to WCAP the last couple of years. Initially, there was your Jamils, your Sarakis, guys like that, and the military guys. And then all of a sudden there seemed to be this rush. You, Harry, Nate Angle. I mean, it was just, and it was kind of on the down low. When you and Nate were going to go in, it was like, hey, keep this on the down low. We're going in the Army. So, it was one of those things. And then all of a sudden now, that's where everybody, it's not everybody, but that's where people are going. And obviously, it's a situation. Yeah, you've got a job. And most of that is you're paid to wrestle, but you talked about the other things you do. But why has there been this pardon, this is not a pun here, the explosion of interest in the Army WCAP program of late?
I think it's like say you have a Penn State or Iowa, a team with a tradition of excellence in wrestling. You're going to attract a lot of athletes. They're going to want to be a part of something, that's that special. So I think at the Army World Class Athlete Program, that's what we have there. We have a family. We're completely dedicated to each other. We have all the support that you can ask for. Great training facilities. Who doesn't want to be in a situation like that? So I think a lot of athletes hear about the great things that the Army can do for them, and they want to become part of the program, and that's kind of how it starts. And then next thing you know, we have another person interested in WCAP.
Well, it's interesting, too. We've been focusing on Greco-Roman here as we talk with Spenser Mango, but, the WCAP program does have a men's freestyle and a women's freestyle element. And one thing that kind of jumped out at me was as Moza Fay was helping out at Air Force this year. It's like, how did you let the Army guy coach at Air Force? How does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know how that worked out, but, I guess the Air Force was proud to have him come in and help out coaching, and it was a great situation for everybody. So Moza helped out with the Air Force Academy, and he got to kind of develop himself as a coach. And when you become a great coach, you become a better wrestler, I feel. So it was a good situation for everybody, and it worked out great.
I'm gonna pitch one of our mutual friends here. Of course, we mentioned Nate Angle, who was out here a couple months ago recruiting at the Minnesota State Tournament, now an assistant coach at the Naval Academy. And here's a guy that wrestled at Missouri Valley in NAI school. Now he's a Division I assistant, and those looks, that opportunity, those coaching looks, he was an assistant with Joel Sherrod at Air Force, and it was like the opportunity for Nate Angle to come from the NAIA, where a lot of people outside of Greco-Roman probably wouldn't recognize his name. Now he's a Division I coach because of his training through Greco-Roman and through the Army World Class Athlete Program. I mean, that's got to be cool for you to see, and you and Nate are real tight on what his career path has been like.
Yeah, I was so happy for Nate. He told me about the opportunity that he had, and I was like, well, this might not come around again. It's not very many Division I coaching jobs for the amount of athletes that you have wrestling. So when that opportunity came, he said he wanted to take it, and I was completely behind him. And it's been working out great so far. He loves it there, and he gets to help young athletes in the sport of wrestling. And that's always a goal as a wrestler, is when you get done, hey, I want to go help somebody else become a champion.
Of course, at the Naval Academy with the large roster, they have that giant wrestling room. He can probably bring more guys into Greco-Roman too. But, back on the Greco-Roman thing for a bit, there was the coaching change last year when Matt Lindland came in as the new national team coach. And just to clarify for people that are unaware, Fort Carson, just out, it's Colorado Springs area. I mean, technically it's just south of the Springs, but you guys have your own facility. It's not like, the Army trains at the Olympic Training Center. Yes, you guys do go in there periodically, but it's not like every day, every practice is there. And then, although I'm guessing with the new construction of the wrestling room, it's a little easier to convince Sean to take the guys up to the training center now with that beautiful renovation that just went through.
Yes, there's a lot more mat space at the training center now. We still practice at our place, just because we have our own facilities, we have our own lifting program, so we do take advantage of our spot quite a bit, but it's nice being able to have both locations readily accessible for you as a wrestler, so that you can kind of get coaching from both sides of the fence. We have our Sean Lewis and the rest of the Army coaching staff at Fort Carson, and then some days we'll go over to the Olympic Training Center with Coach Lindland, Coach Mamir, and Coach Jahad. So you just get a bunch of different looks from a coaching point of view, and every little bit helps.
Yeah, and with the Lindland change, obviously there's no secret there had been some friction between former coach Steve Frazier and Sean and the Army staff in terms of, I don't know if it was a power struggle or not, but how has the relationship been for the athletes, the existing athletes, not necessarily the new guys that were there under Coach Frazier as far as the national team coach, and now with the relationship with Matt Lindland? What has Matt brought to Greco that's maybe a little different?
It's a little different look. It's always good to get some, fresh blood in and, change things up a little bit. And, I feel like he's done that, change our training schedule a little bit and go to maybe different tournaments that we wouldn't have went to before. But also with the addition of Coach Ahad, it's been a little bit different, but I think it's good, and anything we can do to take that next step for Greco is going to be great for us.
You had mentioned that the Army was like a family, and of course you're recently married. I guess it's not so recently now, and you got a young child, and it kind of goes back to this is it's out there, it's known, but it's not something you really talk about a lot. It's not something that a whole lot of people know about. But when you were young, your father Thomas was killed, and you basically had to deal with that. And of course, you had somebody that had served kind of as a stepfather role for a long time to kind of bridge that gap. But now as a father, and I think a lot of people understand this when they have kids. What are some things that you're looking at that you're going to try to do with your kids that you know that you didn't have that growing up? And I mean, how is there an overcompensation there? I mean, how do you handle fatherhood knowing that you had to go through such a tragedy at an early age?
I just every time I'm in the U.S., I try to spend time with them. You never know when that time's going to be up. So every minute, every second that I can spend with them, I'm there. I'm not gonna lie, it gets a little annoying sometimes. I just got home from practice. All I want to do is sit down and drink a Gatorade. And he comes down, he's like, "Dad," and he's so happy to see me. And then he wants me to go outside and play with him out in the hot sun. And I'm like, Caden. But I get up, I go out there, I play with him, just because I spend so much time on tours and traveling around the country, around the world, away from him that every second I get to spend with them, I definitely try to take full advantage of that. And, he loves me for it.
I was talking with Reese Humphrey on a previous episode, and we were talking about, how things change when you're going through the athlete and you're single. It's basically it's an extremely selfish type of lifestyle a wrestler has to live. And then things change. Yes. Your social media posts change. You're no longer posting about, oh man, it was a tough practice, I'm ready to get the gold medal. It's, hey, here's a picture of my kid, after the potty for the first time. I mean, the hardened image of a wrestler kind of cracks underneath that to the being the softness of a parent. I mean, how much is your overall demeanor about wrestling? Has that been impacted by being a father and a husband now? Obviously, I think it softens all of us up a little bit, but as a competitor, has your mindset changed? Has it basically said, all right, I've got to take time and I can train. I have to train differently now because I have a family that I have to take care of.
Oh, yes, it's definitely different. When it was just me, I was going to school, I could do whatever I wanted. I got done with practice, it's my time. Every time outside of practice is my time. Now it's not like that anymore. Like I said, I get home, he wants me to play with him. He wants me to go upstairs and watch a movie. Or, Dad, I want a bath. And I'm like, oh, all right, let's go take a bath. So, it's just I guess just time management also. No longer do I just have hours and hours of do whatever I want to do. It's we have family things we try to do on a regular occasion, and it's not just me anymore. It's a wife and a son. So it's definitely a lot different, but I think it helps me as a wrestler just because I have to focus on I can't procrastinate anymore, I guess I should say. I was a big procrastinator, and now it's like every day I have to use my time wisely or something's not going to get done. So, it helped me as a wrestler. And also, I go to bed earlier now. I'm up earlier. It's just, I guess, a healthier lifestyle all around.
Well, the kids get you up earlier because I know Lucy, when she wakes up, she'll come right in at like 5:30 in the morning. And I'm like, ugh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No matter what time you put them to bed.
Right. I don't know what's going on. I can put him to bed really late, and he'll still be up at the same time every morning, wanting, breakfast and some Disney Channel. So,
yeah, Lucy pretty much commandeered my iPad, and once we teach her the passcode, because she actually ordered something off Amazon without us actually knowing, and I was like, "How did we get this? How did we get this Abby Cadabby doll?" And then we opened up the app, and there it was. But as we talk about the family aspect of it, distractions for kids are good, but circling back to your own upbringing, it's got to make me wonder that your mom had to be an extremely strong and driven individual.
Oh yeah, I honestly don't know how she did it. She worked nights. She's a registered nurse, and she'd work all night and then get home, make us breakfast, and take us to school every day. I don't know when she ever sleep because I never saw her sleep. But yeah, whatever we needed, me and my brother and sister, we played so many sports and different practices around town, and we were playing baseball, basketball, football. And then in high school, started wrestling, and then from there we started driving all over the state, and then the country, going to different wrestling tournaments. So I have no clue how she managed to do it all and still work nights, but she did it, and I'm proud to have her in my life because if she wasn't as strong, I don't know where I would be today.
Is she the one that taught you and Ryan how to drop people on their heads?
Actually, me and Ryan really loved football growing up, so we were just a little small, just a tad bit small for football. So when I started wrestling, Ryan followed shortly behind me. And
no pun intended, right?
Yeah, right. It kind of carried over. I remember they were teaching me a double leg, and I was like, "This is just a football tackle," So my first practice ever, I still remember it. I was, double legging people all over the mat, and they're like, "Oh, nice double leg," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I tackled them, whatever." But yeah, it just once we found a sport like wrestling, I knew it wasn't any other sport I wanted to do.
Now was Mom open about the wrestling, or was it something that you had to talk her into?
She was open at first, and then when I was coming in getting beat up every day, my eyes swollen, and I was sore all the time. She's like, "Hey, are you sure you want to do this?" Because I was getting crushed at first. I was still learning, but things eventually changed, and I started winning a lot more, and she was always there for support, but. Yeah, I remember at the beginning she was asking me if I was sure if I wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah, I love it. So she made it possible for me to go to any tournament I wanted to, and she found a way to get me there. So it all worked out.
In the time we got left, I want to circle back to the Army thing for a little bit. And over the course of my travels to the World Championships and big events, I've gotten to know a guy named Tim Hips who does the media for the Army and the publications and photography. And this is a guy, and this is something about the Army, that they have their own dedicated media outlet, essentially. And, when you see those things, when you see that on the internet, you see it in the print, you see the photos by guys like Tim Hips who, they've got a vested interest in your improvement. And Tim can get you guys to open up in interviews like nobody else can. I mean, you and I have known each other a long time, but I guarantee you Tim's going to be able to draw answers out of you that I never could, just because of that tie right there with the military. And, when you guys are on base or traveling to other places, and, how much respect do you guys get from the rest of the military community within the Army, not just the world-class athlete program, because of the situations where you guys are getting some press within the military community?
Right. People sometimes some of the soldiers don't know what the WCAP program is, but once they figure it out, they're like, wow, how can I be a part of this? So they sometimes we have wrestlers come in for our all Army camps that happen annually and give it a try, and then I'm telling you, the ones that come for All Army definitely have a newfound respect for the world-class athlete program. Sometimes the idea is like, oh, all you guys do is work out? That's probably pretty easy. And then they come in and give it a try and like, wow, this is, I'd rather be back in my unit. So, those guys go and tell their battle buddies like, hey, those guys over there, they're training really hard. Every day, twice a day, those guys are in the room, beating each other up. So, I think the rest of the Army community, they look at us and they're like, wow, these guys, they have hard work, dedication, teamwork, and, they're a family. And, that's the goal for any unit in the Army is those qualities. And, they look to us and they can get inspiration, and I guess it makes the whole Army better.
Now, when we talk about Greco-Roman wrestling as the World Championships are coming back to the United States, here in Vegas in September, there is there's Greco-Roman wrestlers around the world that you admire. Obviously, take your own team, take the United States out of the equation. If you were to tell wrestling fans that when they go to Vegas, they need to pay attention to certain wrestlers in Greco-Roman, who are some of the names that right now you can throw at them and be like, watch this guy, watch this guy, watch this guy?
Well, hey, if you look at my weight, Hamid Sourian from Iran, he always finds a way to win. He's a very smart wrestler, and he every time, no matter what, seems like he'll be down, but he will find a way to win, and definitely a crowd favorite. And then actually at 71 kilos, I like the Azerbaijani. I think his name is Chinayev. He wrestled Leicester last year in the first round of the World Championships, and that guy, he's really exciting to watch. He has a great headlock, great lift, great gut wrench, and always puts points on the board. So that's another super exciting guy. And I guess the
Cuban
heavyweights you got, Lopez Lopez at heavyweight. That's just a monstrous guy, and you look at him and you're like, man, this guy's a beast. And then you see him out there moving, and you kind of wonder, why isn't he in the NFL? When you see a guy like that, the way he can move at that size, and those are a few of my favorites to watch.
Yeah, the joke is if Mian Lopez would have been born in the United States, he'd be playing for the Kansas City Chiefs right now.
Right.
All right, Spenser, last comment as the pitch goes here on Short Time. You've kind of got an open forum to thank anybody, shout-outs, where to follow you on social media, all that type of stuff. Okay, I'd like to thank the Army World Class Athlete Program making all of this possible. Great support, and the rest of my WCAT family. My social media, I try to get on there every now and then, but it's... Was that a tweet that just came in? That was actually a text message. But I'm at Mango Buck on Twitter, I believe. And that's about it. Been talking with now 8-time World and Olympic team member Spenser Mango, set to wrestle 59 kilos at the World Championships in September. You've been listening to the Short Time Wrestling Podcast. The Short Time Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by Flips Wrestling. Share your attitude and be heard at flipswrestling.com. Like what you hear on Short Time? Drop us a rating and a review on iTunes by going to matttalkonline.com/getshorttime.